And now we will have our construction update.
We'll touch on the long-range facility plan. Just wanted to give you an update. The committee members were all contacted, all willing to serve, and our first meeting will be November 1st, next Wednesday, here at Central Office in the conference room. And what we'll do in that meeting is lay out the process for the entire committee, as well as discuss future meeting dates and try to lay that process out for them and pick the best dates for them. Mark Ruther will be here from Honer, our architect, and it'll be a big kickoff. Two of the members weren't available that night. I've already met with them this week to talk about the process, and I've kind of mapped out their calendars so we know what days work for them, and hopefully we can lay that out from now till May. So, and part of the long-range obviously, the long-range facility planning is going to engage every staff member, support staff member, as well as certified staff member in this district. We're going to take input from all of them. So this week I spent time developing the online form, electronic form through Google that they'll be able to give us input. I think 10 years ago we had to do that by paper and sort through those, retype them, and that type stuff. So hopefully this process will be more efficient this time around because of technology, so we can use it there. And staff members will have that opportunity once our administrators will help explain that process to them and help them understand those 10 categories that we showed you in our last board meeting. And so to help staff members understand where they might put suggestions. And then we'll be able to review that with our building principals and the building leadership teams to begin to condense that down to some reports that the committee can work with. So we're excited about that, and the people that are serving on that committee all seem to be really dedicated to the process, and I appreciate especially the community members, as well as board members that are giving up more time to help us with that. The construction update, we've got some change order tonight that I'll ask you to approve, change order number 12. It includes RFPs 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38. 34, after much discussion, we are rejecting the general contractor's request to pay for that. At this time, we believe that it was quite clear in the specs how it was supposed to be done. It has to do with the high roof, the overhang, and how it was structured. There were some things that the general contractor, he doesn't personally agree with our rejection, but at this time we're going to reject that. We'll see where that goes. 35 deals with installation clips. This is interior walls, and these are expenses that we agree we owe, so additional expenses. So this will be an increase to the contract, but you'll see here in a minute we are still quite a bit under budget. So the door closer in the front office, Honer, the architect, is going to reimburse us for this one of $1,124. We go ahead and pay for it, and the reason we pay for it as a district is because then by paper it's all under our warranty. So if something goes wrong with it, instead of Honer sending a check to the general contractor, so Honer will reimburse the district for that one. The reason they're reimbursing it to us is because they actually called for the wrong door closer on the plan, and so they had to order a new one, and so they're paying for that.
That's door closer.
For a handicapped, it's an ADA handicap.
The door had to be moved closer.
No. Sorry. It's a closer.
Okay.
Excuse me. Thank you. It's a handicapped ADA unit. The removal of foundation where the old administration building was up by the high school. If you recall, way back in the process, we mentioned that we had uncovered the old administration foundation. They had to knock some of the top off of that to get their parking lots in at the right elevation. And then in the boiler rooms, the state fire marshal does inspections on boilers and required an additional switch. And so that one was one that wasn't on the plan. And so that is change or RFP 38. So the total expense is $20,366 on change order 12. That would change the contract amount to $5,690,744.61. If you remember, or you can see above, the original contract for this job was $5,731,000. So about $40,000 under budget is where we are.
Do you expect any further change orders?
I do not expect any further change orders unless in the contract it is laid out that the general contractor can request an arbitration on that rejected item. If he chooses to do that, I don't think that'll be in his best interest, to be quite honest. I think there's some other numbers that we can question as well. But that's up to him if he wants to insist on that. That amount's about $4,000 that he's asking for. So it's not a huge sum. But that number started out at about 8 or 9. And I've told you before, sometimes we negotiate numbers down. And our stand all along was that we didn't believe we should pay any for that issue. That was on him. He should have caught it. I think he missed it, bidding it, and so therefore it wasn't built into his cost. So it's coming out of his profit, there's no doubt. And so anyway, we'll see where that goes. But all other RFPs are closed out after this. And then the matter of us paying, you can see there, we haven't received a bill since about July, and so you can see the amount we've paid out is $5,510,000, a little bit over that, and we will disperse the rest of that as things become closed out. For example, some of the things that still have to be done. The soffit isn't finished yet. They're supposed to do that tomorrow while we're out of school. So we'll see if that gets done. All the owner's manuals have to be of every device that's in that building, all the heating and cooling, all those owner's manuals have to be put together in booklets and given to the architect. The architect then checks to make sure they're all there and turns 3 sets of those over to the school district. So the maintenance department has one. We keep one in the vault with the plans, so on and so forth. So there's a couple of engineering, the design of the high roof area. The contractor still has to get an engineer to sign off on that. So that's another thing that we'll be waiting on. So the remainder of that money, we may portion some of that out over the next few board meetings based on, he'll turn in a request asking for X number of dollars. The architect has an idea of how much to release. Mark and I will discuss how much of that to release to them, and everything will be in place before we give them the final check. So anyway, my hope is that it's all paid out. But of course, if he chooses to go to arbitration or something, that may slow things down too. But there's several things that they still have to turn in to the architects to get the project closed out.
So were some disabled parking spaces from the upper lot moved down to right in front of the doors there? Is that what I saw?
That was part,
Or did we add those?
No, we moved them. The reason, Jamie, if you recall, I had told you all that the ADA parking in the west, in the upper level, was incorrectly graded, so it was incorrectly installed. There were three options that the architect and myself discussed with Rob Conaway from Archer and with CSE. We had an option of leaving them there and correcting them, which obviously tearing out some parking lot, those kind of things. We discussed a couple of different options south of the front entrance. So if you drive over there now, you'll see that we chose one of those options. Part of the requirement, to be honest, all that mistake was on the subcontractor. And so we decided what we felt was best for the area. What we gave them, we said we agree to XYZ. Moving the ADA made sense. We didn't have to tear out as much parking lot, so that was helpful. I think it turned out that it's in a better place. I believe, Jamie, you even mentioned that, you wondered why it wasn't in that south location. Part of the reason why is when this started early on, we weren't sure how steep coming out the front doors was going to end up being. And the west ADA spot, the way it was designed, nobody had to cross any traffic. Where it is now, the one thing that we discussed was they do have to get out of their car and cross traffic. Now, we put in a crosswalk type painting, and all that to make it safer. We also moved it further away from that drive path, the traffic flow path. So people have plenty of room to get out of, a handicapped person would have plenty of room to get out of their car and not feel like they're in traffic. So the design we came up with, we were very happy with. It does still require the subcontractor to make some corrections up at the upper ramp. And they were sent all those plans. They agreed to all those plans according to the general contractor. They did the work in the south area. They got rid of the blue paint in the west area and repainted those yellow. And I received an email yesterday stating that they felt like they were done and they didn't need to fix the concrete and the ramp in that west area. And so we said, no, that's not the agreement we had. If that was the agreement, then you can redo the whole thing again and put it back where it originally was. We tried to do this. We were helping you save a little bit of money on your end because you made a mistake. So those kinds of things are still being discussed. I think we'll come to a resolution, and I think it'll be a positive one. But for right now, I think part of it is maybe a little bit of communication struggle between the general contractor and subcontractor. I think sometimes people tell us that everybody's agreed, and maybe they haven't all agreed. So, but all the drawings were in place, and what we signed off on, I feel like they should do. So we'll hold them accountable for those things. And I do think the ADA parking's worked out really well. If you drive by, I think you'll like it. And I think, Jim, looks good on your end. And I think everybody was a little concerned when we first started digging it back out, but I think it worked out well. And people will have access to the high school front doors, and it'll be nice. So,
Okay, so we need action on your change order.
Right. Change order number 12. Appreciate a motion to approve change order 12.
I make a motion to approve change order 12.
A second.
Okay, any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank
I'll
you.
keep you all updated.
Can you return that to the first slide for me?
Sure.
Picture.
Yeah?
I really like the
Or do you like
pictures.
that one?
Yeah,
That
I
one.
really like the pictures we've been seeing at nighttime with all the lights on. I think that really is a good version. What struck me about this picture, and I know it's been just a few decades since I went to high school, but you can't see 1 inch of my high school in that picture. Not an inch. So the only thing that was there was the parking lot and the football field.
There you go.
The far parking lot.
And the
front
field's
parking lot
changed.
was-
And the
Yeah, and the
field's
field's
changed,
changed,
too.
that's right.
I will keep you all updated as we work through any issues that come up,
Okay.
but
I think that big oak tree was there, but it was really small.
Mine, yeah, well, really small.
they planted it.
Stick in
yeah.
the ground.
Squirrel, they get put in the ground.
That's true. Okay, anything else having to do with that? No.
Greg, can I, just one more
Sure.
thing about the architects.
Yeah.
Our architects have been wonderful to work with. And, we've had a lot of compliments from builders over the years. I know they've done, I think I've worked with them on 10 projects since 2010. Some really small, like the Truman entrance, the cafeteria, they were talking about how the cafeteria flows. You all are the ones that approved that upgrade 3 years ago, planning for the freshmen, so it's good that it worked out the way we thought it would be. But Mark and his group have done a really good job, and I know the contractors we've worked with in the past have been very complimentary of their detail work, their detailed specs, and I think they also look out for the district. Obviously, they're making money too, but I think they do care about the school districts they work with and want to give us a quality product for the money that we spend. So,
Well, and I would say, nothing's come to my attention, but have any administrators or teachers ever come to you and said, there's a problem with the way this has been designed?
they don't
That's a loaded question.
They don't tell me that.
But for the most part,
No, I
things
think
flow and things work. And
Yeah, everybody has an opinion, so.
Yeah.
Is the new room, the lecture room, is it getting used outside of school as well? By other groups and
Not the community.
not the community?
Right,
Okay.
not yet.
I was curious.
We've got some calls, but nothing booked yet. It's used all the time.
Right, right.
Even after school by our groups.
Okay.